Hi everybody, I'm Art Lightstone from Green Neighbour, and I am going to attempt the Pete and Bobby push-up pull-up challenge.
Well, hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to what is perhaps the silliest video I've ever made, especially in this timeline in which we're living when there are so many important things going on. Nonetheless, I woke up one morning to see this video. Take a look at this. So we see here Pete Hegseth struggling to do a chin-up, and then this woman trolling him, saying, that's the way you do it. Love that head tilt. And then I was wondering what this is all about. I wondered if that was a legitimate video. I came across this man explaining what was going on. Let's listen to what he has to say.
So Pete Hegseth and RFK Jr. just did a pull-up and a push-up competition to promote physical fitness. Now, if you saw the clip of Pete Hegseth doing the pull-ups, this is what you saw. Looks pretty bad, doesn't it? Except that was the last pull-up of 50 that I was trying to do in 5 minutes. Here's the actual clip of how it started. Pretty good pull-ups, right? Yeah, I know, but you can't find that clip anywhere because the left media and all the people on the left are constantly posting the struggling one on his 50th attempt. You see, the left constantly is getting in their own way. No wonder why people don't believe a darn thing that they say anymore, because it's all propaganda for them. So, if you really want to see what the challenge looked like, you have to go to the DOD website and pull that video clip. If not, you're not going to find it on X, and you're not going to find it on any other platform. The media knows if you're doing something right, they're going to report it wrong.
All right, so then I took his advice and I looked around to see if I could see the original video. What I found kind of surprised me. I could not actually find a video of Pete Hegseth completing the challenge that he is calling the Pete and Bobby challenge. But I did find this very nice, very polished video that I suppose the Pentagon put out, or the Department of War, whatever they're calling it now. Let's watch this together. Very slick. Very nicely made. Lots of slow-mo shots. Tough Marines.
All right, here we are in the bowels of the Pentagon for the Pete and Bobby challenge. I think this was your idea, so I blame you. But it's all about Make America Healthy Again. We're going to be fit, not fat. We want recruits that are ready to go and challenge. What are we doing today, Bobby?
Well, Pete and I are going to do our part, encourage American youth to do this challenge. And the challenge is to do 100 push-ups and 50 pull-ups in any order you want in under 10 minutes.
So 5 minutes is the top standard that we want to meet.
We're not going to be able to do.
So in this video, you just see glimpses of RFK Jr. and Pete Hegseth doing 1 or 2, 1.5 pull-ups at a time. And then they showed this scene where they're hugging each other and they kind of flash the times up.
Secretary of Defense shark attack. You can do better,
and then they explicitly state that some of these other individuals got these times, did the challenge in those times.
You did the challenge in what time?
3:56.
3:56. 3 minutes and 24 seconds. Gunnery Sergeant Prince. Gunnery Sergeant.
And now they're challenging other people to do the Pete and Bobby challenge.
Challenge to Sean Duffy.
I'm going to throw it on the military side a little bit too. Let's challenge the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, Raising Cane, and then my friend on TV, Will Kane. How about the Pete and Bobby challenge? 100 push-ups, 50 pull-ups, but we hope Americans will take this challenge and you'll pass it along so that we're ready to be fit the way we need to be healthy, and to have a healthy fighting force. Go get it.
As a video maker, you know, hats off to the producers of this video. It was very nicely made, very nicely filmed. So, from the U.S. Department of Defense, I had a few thoughts about this, and I've developed a theory, a thesis, if you will. And that theory is, I don't think RFK Jr. or Pete Hegseth actually did this challenge at all. At first I kind of thought, well, maybe they did it, but they didn't get a very good time. But the more I thought about it and the more I explored, the more I looked around, the more I've settled on the idea that they didn't do it at all. So along the way of me developing this theory, I did this challenge myself. In fact, I did it the very morning that I first learned about it. I didn't train for it or get ready for it. Those exercises, push-ups and pull-ups, are exercises that I do on a regular basis. So I was just kind of curious to see where I was at. I did develop a plan, and here it is here. I'll just flash it up on the screen. At first, I was going to make this video and I was going to say, well, hey, Pete Hegseth allowed himself to be filmed in a compromising situation. And, here's a couple of suggestions for how he could have avoided that. But as I did the challenge, and then as I looked around, explored, learned a bit more about these two gentlemen, I started to develop the theory that they didn't do it at all. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play the raw footage of me doing this challenge on the side as I continue to discuss my theory. And I suppose this, while it's a bit of a silly endeavor, I suppose it's a bit of, an examination of research, of thesis development, of critical thinking, and of falsifiability, because at the end of this video, I will suggest a way of falsifying my theory, and any good theory has to be falsifiable. So keep watching until the end, and then you'll see what I propose as an approach to falsifying my thesis. I really wanted to show you me doing this challenge from start to finish, because that really is the crux of my theory. You see, my theory is, if you did this challenge, especially if you did it in 5 minutes and change, then you'd want to show people that you did it. And the other thing I would point out is it is a challenge, kind of like the ice bucket challenge. And in order to earn the right to challenge somebody else to do this, you have to do the challenge yourself. And you have to prove it. You have to show people that you did it. You can't just say, yeah, I did it. So now I want you to do it. So one of the things that I noticed while I was watching this rather unflattering pull-up is that it was indeed a chin-up, not a pull-up. When I first saw the video and then did the challenge just within 1 or 2 hours, I didn't actually take note of that. It was after the fact that I noticed that Pete Hegseth was actually caught doing a chin-up. And I was going to kind of make a bit of fun of that, poke a bit of fun of that, and more or less liken it to a lady's push-up. But then I thought, no, I won't do that. Why involve gender in this? But then I came across this video of Adam Kinzinger making that very point, and in fact elaborating on it. So let's hear what Adam Kinzinger has to say about this.
Have you seen the Secretary of Defense doing pull-ups? He's been posting some videos of himself doing pull-ups. I'd like for you to give me a little play-by-play analysis of it.
Listen, Tim, I don't know. He could have been on pull-up number 1,000, okay? But let me just say this. For him, first off, the one thing you learn in the military is if you do underhand pull-ups, that's what the girls are allowed to do. The guys do overhand pull-ups. And in that video, RFK Jr. is doing overhand pull-ups. Pete is doing underhand pull-ups. And he's like hoinking around his legs to try to hoist himself up because he can't get up on his own power. So look, I mean, great. Good job working out. But, in an environment where alpha males rule, and your image is everything, that was a pretty big violation of that today.
You're kind of a gender-affirming care a little bit on which type of pull-up that he was doing. You might want to call it that.
Completely.
All right, so he made the point, so I thought, why not? I'd mention that the thought crossed my mind. Now, I don't want to give anyone the impression that chin-ups are dramatically easier than pull-ups. Really, it's just, it's a different kind of pull-up. It is easier. But even more important is that it's different. So if you're doing an overhand pull-up and you do a good number of them, the muscles involved in that style of pull-up get very tired. And so obviously subsequent pull-ups in that same style become very difficult. So if you can just turn things around, switch things up a little bit, and leverage a slightly different set of muscles, That's really the main advantage to doing chin-ups. It's actually in mixing them up, switching things up, and being able to leverage slightly different muscles. So Pete Hegseth did not do all chin-ups. You can see in the video that they made at the Pentagon that Pete Hegseth started out at least doing overhand pull-ups. But at some point, obviously, he switched to chin-ups. And indeed, he really struggled at them. And I would suggest that that was politically not a very good move. You definitely should not allow yourself to be caught doing chin-ups like that, especially if you're in the military and you have a cabinet position. So really not a good idea. And so I developed this theory at first that, I was basically going to say, hey, he focused too much on the clock. He was too focused on getting a good time. And so he wore himself out, and that brought him to the point where he would perform, that kind of not very flattering pull-up. And the other thing that I was going to point out, perhaps he didn't develop a plan and just tried to do all the pull-ups at once and maybe all the push-ups at once. I don't know how they divided it up. But I thought I was pretty clever in coming up with my plan where I would divide everything up. I just more or less tried to predict how many pull-ups and push-ups I should do in a row and how many I could get away with before I tired myself out too much. I knew that the push-ups wouldn't be a problem. This challenge is really about the pull-ups. And the push-ups really are an opportunity to rest between sets of pull-ups. And I kind of made a strategic error in my plan in that I ended with a set of push-ups, which is a rest. So it's kind of silly to end with a rest. I should have rejigged that a little bit, and I could have probably shaved a good 20 seconds off my time just by moving things around, not going any faster, just moving things around. The other thing that I came across was this video of RFK Jr. doing a set of push-ups. Take a look at this.
Okay.
Right, so he's in an outdoor gym, a gym at a park somewhere or something. And he does a set of push-ups. And he reaches the point of failure after 9 push-ups. Now, I can't know how many push-ups he had done or what other exercises he had done at that point in time. But to reach failure at 9 push-ups is pretty extreme. That's a pretty low number to hit failure at, even if you've already done something like 100 push-ups. Now, there's no doubt the man is in great shape. He's got a great physique, very low body fat. He has less than 10% body fat. You can tell just looking at him. He's not carrying any weight on his abdomen. So that's amazing. He's got a great physique, and he's 71 years old, not taking anything away from the man. However, given that he hit failure there at 9 push-ups, and given that we don't see either RFK Jr. or Pete Hegseth doing much more than 2 or 3 push-ups or pull-ups at a time, I can't help but suspect that they did not complete the challenge. I think they probably had a really busy day of filming. I think the Department of Defense put together a very nice film. They've issued a very inspiring challenge. I hope lots of people do this and film themselves and share those videos to inspire each other and issue these challenges in a more legitimate way where you show people, much like what I've done here, hey, I did it, start to finish. Here's the time. You can see the time stamp up there. This is the time it took me to do it. And that's how you should issue a challenge like this. You can't just kind of show random stuff, some slow motion shots, some shots of, dramatic overhead views of a bunch of military personnel doing jumping jacks and so on, and then just say that you did this and now you're going to issue the challenge to a bunch of other people. Now, here's a final thing that I didn't even notice until after I started making this little video, and that is that at no point in the video that the Department of Defense put together with Pete Hegseth and RFK Jr., at no point did they ever say they did this challenge. At no point did they ever claim to have done it in a certain amount of time. They simply found a nice shot of Pete and Bobby kind of congratulating each other, hugging, and then they flashed times up beside them. Now, there's no mistaking the meaning of that. The suggestion is that they completed this challenge, and that's the time that it took them to complete the challenge. But at no point in the video do they actually have film of them saying, aha, I did it. I did it in this time. So that kind of supports my theory that after a long day of filming and so on, they just didn't do it. And I suppose my theory is that as they were doing these push-ups and pull-ups, I think they were possibly a bit surprised at how difficult it was. And perhaps they realized that they might not be able to even do it within 10 minutes. So I think they just kind of slinked their way out of it. Just kind of got busy, just said, oh, I got to go to the bathroom. Oh, I got to do this. I haven't had lunch yet. Maybe we'll get that shot later. Maybe we'll do it later. And they just didn't do it. And in the editing bay, they figured out a way to imply that they did it. But the main point that I would make here is if you actually did this, and especially if you did it in the time that they're suggesting they did it in, you would want to show people, you would want to prove to people that you did it in that time. And you would be posting that video. But they don't. They did not post any video of either of these gentlemen completing this challenge start to finish. All we see are snippets of them doing a few push-ups and a few pull-ups. And they don't even capture on video any point where they said, hey, I did it. Wow, was that ever hard? So glad I did it. So now we get to the falsifiability part of it. If RFK Jr. and Pete Hegseth actually did this challenge, then they would have to have film of it. They wouldn't do this challenge and then not capture it on video. Now, the suggestion is that this kind of pathetic pull-up, this last few pathetic pull-ups that Pete Hegseth did, they were the final pull-ups after doing, 47, 48 pull-ups. So let's see them. Where are they? So I'll tell you what. I know I'm issuing a fairly serious charge here and suggesting that these gentlemen did not do this challenge at all. So I'll tell you what I'll do. RFK Jr., Pete Hegseth, if you did indeed complete this challenge in the time that you're suggesting that you did, just share the video. Post it somewhere online. Somebody send me a link. Get in touch with me one way or another. And I will send you a signed Policy Watch t-shirt and a nice little card wherein I say, my apologies, good sir. You're obviously a very fit man. You, sir, are badass. I will do that. Be happy to do that. Just share the video of you completing this challenge, and I will issue you a formal apology and send you a nice little Policy Watch gift from the Policy Watch swag shop. So there you go. That's my thoughts on this. I know a bit of a silly subject during these very challenging, very difficult, very concerning times that we're living in, but perhaps as a lighthearted distraction from all that, we have the Pete and Bobby challenge and my suggestion that perhaps neither of these gentlemen actually completed the challenge. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.